evening, welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Jo Brand. In the news this week, backstage at Strictly Come Dancing, Bruce Forsyth's family watch him finally get to the end of an auto-cue link. At a council meeting in Stoke, there's a surprising result when a motion is tabled to abolish Stoke. And in Moscow, another dissident is offered a chance to sit down for a few minutes and reconsider his opposition to Vladimir Putin. On Ian's team tonight is a former MP and European Monopoly champion, of whom it's been said that if he hadn't spent so much time and energy pursuing such trivialities, he could truly have been one of history's great Monopoly players. Please welcome Charles Brandreth. And with Paul tonight is the former Deputy Prime Minister, who was the third most famous face in the Blair government, after both of Tony Blair's. Please welcome John Prescott. And we start with the bigger stories of the week.
Yeah.
Paul and John, take a look at this.
Ah, yes, that's a representation of a baby. These people, there's another baby, look, there we are. The world's full of them, apparently. And there's the Archbishop of Canterbury with his special friend. That was the Bishop of London.
With a nice brooch on.
It's a stained glass window, isn't it? But, yeah, this is the baby George. He's been christened.
Gorgeous George, the heir apparent but one to the throne of this country. Gorgeous George, the lovely austerity baby.
But two, isn't it?
Well, but two, but one, well, we don't know. We don't know yet what could happen.
Isn't there Charles and then William?
There's Charles, there's William, then there's George.
Yeah, so he's third.
Who's counting?
Well, they are,
The
he's
point
George
is, this is an eventual heir to the throne called George, named after the Chancellor of the Exchequer as a lovely gesture to the austerity. They looked around the cabinet table, thought we've got to actually keep in, be at the cutting edge. Eric Pickles, well, do we want to call the baby Eric? Not chubby enough. Theresa May, quite popular, but is the baby going to be a cross-dresser? I mean, even...
Well, judging by the picture, possibly.
Yeah. If you start out in a frock, where do you end? Where do you end?
Well, you end up an archbishop.
Yeah. This is the baptism, the christening of young Prince George.
We've said all this.
Yes. Well, let me just interrupt and ask you a question.
Yes,
do you know how many pages the Daily Mail devoted?
16. It's always 16.
The Mail devoted 15 pages to the event, while the Independent published a special souvenir issue so readers could cut out and keep the bottom left-hand corner of page 27.
15 pages, but only 7 godparents, and most of them, in my view, useless.
Well, I should just
How
say as
do you know?
well...
They've only been there for a day.
No, because if you want... how good a godparent are you? You're probably not a very good godparent. No, only because... No, Ian has a lot of problem with his own children, and...
Can we vote you off?
It was an important ceremony. I think the godparents, on the whole, were a mistake, because you don't actually want straight godparents. You want, on the whole, to have gay godparents who will not have children, and therefore they can love you...
See, on just a minute, there's a limit. It's a minute, and then it stops, but this is going on forever. Yeah. We need some mechanism. Your answer. Can we have
your
the points?
answer is correct, but let me just tell you... You only get 1 point for that, even though it was a 14-hour-long answer.
But it wasn't. We were just warming up. There was so much to tell you about the godparents.
That's what I feared. Well, there's 7 of them, let me tell you that.
Yes.
Wealthy, toffy, poshy, snobby, snooty, lordy and dreary. No, what can you tell me? Do you know any of their names?
I do.
Go on, then. I knew you would.
I know all of their names. I know them all personally. The one I'm going to back as a good godparent is the youngest, the 22-year-old Earl Grosvenor, Hugh, who is a multi-billionaire. That's the kind of godparent you want. Who knows what the future of the royal family might be? These people have very sensibly got a godfather in there who actually can deliver what a godfather should. Money, protection. He's
And they were like pretty posh, weren't they? There was Jamie Lowther Pinkerton,
52.
Emilia Jardine
31.
Patterson, and then Zara Tindall. And it's really coming to something when you need Zara Tindall to be the bit of rough, isn't it? Who hasn't got a double-barrelled name. I think it's unbelievable.
She has got a tattoo.
Do you know, Emilia... Where is it?
There's only one thing I'd like to know about this, and...
You're not allowed to ask questions. You're here to answer them.
But I think John may have the answer to this.
Oh.
Did you see the Archbishop wets the baby's head with water from the River Jordan?
I did see that. It
It's a hell of
comes
a
from
long
the
hose
font.
pipe.
It comes, well, it's brought to the font. Now, what I want to know
I'll be
is
here if you need me.
this is a health and safety question.
It certainly is.
How long has this water been waiting to be used? Is it safe to use this water from the River Jordan? Do we know it's safe for this little baby to have this water splashed all over it? Has it been brought back from Jordan by Tony Blair? That's the question I really wanted to ask. On one of his trips, did he bring back the water from Jordan?
I can't believe he stopped. I was so stunned.
You do edit this programme, do you?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
neither of us will be in it tomorrow.
Well, one of you will be.
So there we go. This is indeed the royal christening of Prince George. George's godparents include Hugh Van Cutsum. I presume that's a nickname, as in Hugh Van Cutsum and Harry then Snortsum.
Have we lost the lawyers?
Ian and Giles, take a look at this.
It's a nuclear power station, I think.
Oh, and there he is, Daddy Woodentop. A great Prime Minister.
Wind farm.
Oh,
Another great Prime Minister.
yeah. I imagine this is all about nuclear power, it's about the green energy agenda, it's about John Major stepping in, coming back from the shadows. The grey man has returned, multicoloured.
What is weird about the price the government have agreed to pay the French and the Chinese for supplying us with nuclear power?
It's double the current price of energy. So they're giving them a fixed rate, which is double what it is at the moment, which isn't a terrifically good deal in anyone's book.
And guarantee for 30 years.
Guaranteed for 30 years, yes. I mean, there is an argument that the whole thing's the fault of the previous government who never commissioned anything and just sat on their hands for 10 years, but I wouldn't bring that up in current company. We're in the position where we have to buy nuclear power stations from someone, and our government has chosen to buy them from China. I mean, I suppose we could have bought them from Japan. That's been going well. Yeah, it's a government trying to play catch-up, because Ed Miliband suggested there should be a price freeze, and everyone said, oh, you know, red Ed, lefty idiot. And then people realised that this is quite popular, and the big energy companies have been running a bit of a cartel. It's all right if you can do coke jokes, I'm going to shove in the word cartel. One to the lawyers. Why do they make him live up there? Yeah.
What's intriguing is that John Major has intervened here and has come up with an alternative suggestion to the government's. And so he, as it were, has come out of the shadows, and people are reassessing him. I've always admired him, and he looks so well. Always has done. Great man.
Good, well, that's covered that then.
Since we're on the subject of John Major, people did notice that while he was attending this speech, he has become somewhat waspish in his old age. He said to Labour MP Nick Brown, "It's very good to see you here, Nick," adding, "I thought you were dead." And he said that Ian Duncan Smith might have trouble reforming welfare, unless he's very lucky, which he may not be, or a genius, which last time I looked was unproven. Which minister's behind the initiative?
Davey.
That's right, the energy minister. Should we have a look at him?
Yeah.
Looking a bit like Wayne Rooney. Well...
The Lib Dems were... The one thing they said they came into office for was to get this sort of green tax put on fuel. And now it's going to be removed.
This is, of course, complete tosh.
Yes.
It is. I could explain why, but I don't think this is the moment.
Not being so this close to Christmas.
Do you know where David Cameron was when this announcement was made? He was actually at Hinkley Point Power Station in Somerset.
Oh, yes.
Can we fix it? No, we can't.
He also announced that it was going to be 25,000 jobs, and David then came in and said that it would only be 5,000 at its peak.
And they're not even going to be British jobs, are they?
No,
necessarily.
French or Chinese.
Are you a fan of the Chinese?
I am.
You've got a few good Chineses near you, haven't you? I like Chinese. Now, British Gas hiked their prices by 9% last week. Who caught some stick for upping their rates by 10% this week?
Was that N-Power?
It was indeed. I must say, I really don't like that small letter, big letter thing, N-Power or
I thought they were
iPhone.
a dubstep band.
Did a young person tell you to say that, Ian? Can you tell him to say that?
No, I don't know what he's on about. I think he's changed his medication.
This was a week of rows over energy policy. Over recent weeks, David Cameron's mantra has become, "I'll keep the lights on," presumably followed by Samantha saying, "I can't do it with the lights on." On the plus side for the government, when the Hinkley Point power station in Somerset does blow up, at least it'll kill all the badgers. Paul and John, here's another for you.
Oh, cricket, obviously, black and white. The Pope. Yes, that was like the Holy Beach Ball of Lords. What's that? Nuns. At least one of them's a man, I can see from here. The Vatican's got its own cricket team.
It has. Do you know what they're called?
The Angels. The Saints. The Pope's cricket team. The Vatican 11.
They're called the St Peter's Cricket Club. And if you ask for an LBW decision, they'll deny you 3 times, apparently. Yes, get those references in. Yes, sorry, child. Do you know what Father Theodore Mascarenhas, the Vatican Cricket Club president, had to say? By the way, to give you a clue, he's an Indian spin bowler and he moves the ball in a mysterious way. Sorry. Well, he said, "We hope that one day we will be able to translate silly mid-off into Latin." Want to have a crack at that, Giles?
My Latin is terrible. For years I thought in loco parentis meant my dad's an engine driver.
Julius Caesar used to tell that one.
Let's move on. Who's compared themselves to Jesus this week?
Is it Russell Brand?
It's Michael O'Leary, the boss of Ryanair.
Oh, yeah.
He went on Twitter to interact with all those fans out there of shitty budget air travel.
Is that a technical term?
Yeah. One customer called Beth asked, "Is there any truth in the rumour that you plan to charge passengers for each inhalation as they make after takeoff?" So Michael O'Leary thought he'd show he had a sense of humour with this reply. "Great idea. I have a team working on it as we breathe."
Yeah.
To which Beth replied, "Thought you'd like that one, you money-grabbing..." OK, this is the news that the Vatican is setting up its own cricket team. Meanwhile, a German bishop dubbed the Bishop of Bling has been suspended by the Vatican on account of his extravagant spending. The bishop spent €31 million renovating his private residence in Limburg. No wonder the Vatican was furious. Just think of all the poor destitute children in the world they could have hushed up with that money. Ian and Giles, here's another for you.
Oh, Theresa May's leaving the country, is she?
She's explaining she'd like to go, it's become embarrassing.
Yes.
And this van, it was a pilot scheme. They thought, we'll see if this works, we'll send the van round telling people to go home. Apparently, only one person went home. It had a success rate of 1, and the person who went home didn't actually see the van, but read about it in The Guardian.
Actually, do you know what the objection the Advertising Standards Authority had to the vans
was the apostrophe in the wrong place. Let's see it again.
I'm not sure there is one in Go Home.
If you look at the writing on here, it is very contradictory. You had 106 arrests last week. Go home or face arrest. And in small letters, you can help you to return home voluntarily without fear of arrest. You just mentioned it twice in big letters.
The Advertising Standards Authority said that they quoted misleading arrest statistics. Now, when it comes to clarity of communication, you think a particular type of person's best suited to become a successful politician, don't you, Giles?
Can I tell you what annoyed me the other day? And that was when...
Only if I can have the next go.
I think, having been a breakfast television presenter, actually really gets you well suited to be in government. Because you've got to get up early in the morning, you've got to look presentable, you've got to actually master a brief, you've got to be able to form a soundbite and get it across. So I didn't like the way these so-called tele-autocuties were patronised when they were appointed to government.
How about people that get up about 11 o'clock and look a bit shit like me and John? Now, do you think, though, that this new breed of politician will put a stop to MPs' perks, which they're insisting they keep, as well as their 11% pay rise?
I think we should have far fewer MPs. I think we should actually think through what the MP is supposed to do.
Can you name names?
Who should go? Who should be culled?
Who should be culled?
Oh, where do we start?
At night with a rifle.
The culling of the members. Oh, what a marvellous series that would be, a Saturday night series.
It could have subtitles. It could be The Culling. Are you not getting a pay rise in the Lords?
We don't get a pay in that sense. You
You
get a
just get
daily
extras.
allowance if you turn, but it's not a wage.
Right.
And then when I go to Europe to represent, they cut it by half. But that's life. I'm not making a plea about it. It's better than working for a living.
OK, so this week saw a continuation of the Tory van debacle. Hang on, isn't Tory Van de Barker one of Prince George's godparents? According to The Sun, Theresa May also backed a scheme in which immigrants were sent text messages telling them to go home. Theresa May, if you really want to frighten them off, try sexting them. And so, to round two, the strengthometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
That's a cake, isn't it? It's the Great British Bake Off winner, that is. So there was talk about there being some misogyny. Some people on the internet were very harsh about some of the contestants, I believe. Go on, what is it now?
We were just going to tell you who the people were. The gentleman on the left is Monsieur Raymond Blanc, the television chef, and he tweeted what appeared to be a sarcastic remark about the winner 24 hours before the winner was announced, and possibly spoilt the whole competition.
But he got it wrong, because it wasn't the winner.
Indeed, he said, you know, French is my second language. Theresa May then phoned up and said, oh, you're some froggy waller, are you? Well, get out, get out.
This is what he tweeted. The Great British Bake Off, not much skills, female tears, and a winner so thin who makes me doubt her love for great cooking, baking. Who did that text refer
Ruby.
to?
It referred to Ruby.
That's Ruby.
Ah, yes.
But you can't really tell how thin she is there, because she could have, like, a really massive body under there. Must have more photos of myself taken from that height.
And this is the winner.
Francis. Right. And a lot of Bake Off fans were furious. Yeah. What did former finalist Mary Ann Burmans compare the situation to? Do you know?
No.
The end of the Crimean War.
She said it was like someone saying Snape killed Dumbledore before you've read the book.
Good grief.
Have you all read
Is that
Harry
happening?
Potter?
Oh, no. My children and grandchildren are watching this. You've just ruined 7 people's childhood.
Well, good. So, this is the grand final of Bake Off, which I watched this week. It was contested by 3 female cooks, which is odd because I happen to know for a fact that the best bakers are all male, and they're all called Greg. One of the finalists, Ruby Tando, received a lot of coverage for her looks. She complained, saying, if I see one more person use the pun doe-eyed, I will personally go to their house and force-feed them an entire Charlotte Royale. Ruby, you're doe-eyed. Yeah. That's dough with an O-U-G-H. If I'm not at home, leave it with my neighbour. Thank you. OK, fingers on buzzers, teams.
Somebody invented a windy book.
It might be Alex Ferguson.
Oh, the hairdryer
thing.
This is the hairdryer thing which he used to do to his players, apparently. So yes, he's got a new book out.
That's right. The Daily Telegraph said, this was book launch as a major cultural event. Its tone more presidential than managerial. Every word he said was dispatched across the globe. Every word he said had currency.
Well, isn't the ghostwriter of the book a Daily Telegraph reporter? He's a journalist, Paul Hayward. He's the
I think he may well be.
I think
he is, yeah. He's the guy that wrote the book.
Yeah.
And that isn't...
I wonder if there's some sort of connection there, which I can't see.
Now, does anyone know which of John's colleagues Sir Alex wanted to see the back of?
Blair.
Gordon Brown.
Prescott.
No.
Well, according to The Sun, Tony Blair asked Sir Alex how to handle Chancellor Gordon Brown's mutinous behaviour. The Times reported that he told old Tone, the important thing in my job is control. The minute they threaten your control, you have to get rid of them. You stayed in your job for ages, John, so you can't have been any threat whatsoever. What do you reckon?
Did he actually say that? Was that in the book?
He suggested that Blair should pick up a football boot and throw it really hard at Gordon's face.
But he could have called on John, and John could simply have hit him.
I never ever hit anyone. I connected with them as Blair asked.
Now, John, who did you recently compare to Alex Ferguson?
I'm 75 years of age, I can't remember.
Well, apparently it was Ed Miliband.
Was it?
Yeah.
He's the leader of the
Curiosity.
Labour Party. Is there any cocoa out there?
This is Sir Alex Ferguson's autobiography. In the book, Fergie is critical of Wayne Rooney, saying his qualities as a player can be swallowed up by a lack of fitness. God knows how Wayne's going to react when someone reads that to him. OK, time now for the odd one out round. David Cameron, his former spin doctor Steve Hilton, pet chickens, and George Osborne.
Is there a continual story, is there a narrative through these pictures? Has David Cameron pulled that beach ball out of the chicken's arse and there's astonished George Osborne?
It's much simpler than
Is
that.
it?
3 of them are Tories, and 1 of them is a chicken.
Oh, that's very good. So, 3 Conservatives and 1 Liberal Democrat.
Is this to do with not wearing shoes?
You're warm there. It's to do with insufficient apparel,
Yes,
shall we
because
say.
Steve Hilton, who's come back to advise Mr Cameron, he was on a plane and he wasn't wearing shoes, so they said you can't come in.
That's
A
right.
bit personal, but he's got this verruca problem.
The chicken is the odd one out because for some reason it's worn on a pair of shoes and the others haven't.
You're correct on the chicken. It is the odd one out. They've all allegedly worn insufficient clothing, apart from pet chickens who are wearing entirely superfluous high-vis jackets.
Can I say, excuse me, this
You
chicken...
can say excuse me.
If this is a high-visibility jacket, it's been sold
No,
under...
no, that's...
I mean, honestly, I'm looking at it very closely. I really cannot see the high-visibility... How are we to know it wears one if it hasn't got it on?
Just going to show you the picture of the fucking chicken. Let's have a look at the chicken
Let's
with the
have a look at the
jacket.
chicken.
Let's have a look at it.
There it is.
Ah.
People are buying fluorescent jackets for their pet chickens
Yeah.
because they wander into the road and get run over.
The foxes must be very happy with this new arrangement. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because the high visibility jacket shop was on the other side.
The manufacturer's website describes the jackets as health and safety gilets.
What nonsense.
Very fashionable, but worryingly for the chickens, just 1 letter away from giblets. Now, George Osborne, I don't know if you've heard about him, but he allegedly had a naked race along a London street at the instigation of a Vice girl called Natalie Rowe. He denies all of Rowe's allegations.
Oh, that's good. So what were they?
David Cameron was photographed trying to change his shorts on a Cornish beach.
Yes.
So, how did Ed Balls try and make capital out of this?
Bull said in the House of Commons, it's a very small towel.
Oh, yes.
He was trying to make some sort of
For a Prime Minister,
genital
that's
joke,
right.
which, if you're called balls, is not a good idea.
OK, time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Trolleybus magazine. And we start with rumours that what were never substantiated.
There were actually weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which the Cabinet believed, but they weren't, though, were they?
Rumours that trolley buses were invented by the Chinese were never substantiated.
Rumours that Stalybridge did once order some trolleybuses were never substantiated. The rumours date from 1959. If you want some idea of what Stalybridge was like in 1959, go to Stalybridge. Next, wide-faced men are what?
Getting stuck in doorways. Are more likely to be infertile.
No, it's worse than that.
Are more likely to be fertile.
Creating more wide-faced men.
yeah.
No, they're more likely to be con men.
Well, apparently wide-faced men are indeed most likely to con you.
Nobody look around.
Yeah.
Well,
And finally, red-skirted what? Spotted.
tram, that's what it would be. It's a red-skirted tram. It's a trolley bus. It's a trolley bus that's got a red skirt around it. It's been spotted.
Correct. A red-skirted trolleybus spotted. Indeed, this is from Trolleybus magazine's visit to North Korea. Of course, I can understand why people might want to go on a trolleybus spotting tour of North Korea, but then again, I am a former psychiatric nurse. And so, the final scores are Giles and Ian have 7, but John and Paul have 9. Yes. And I leave you with news that, arriving in Prague for a weekend break, Mrs Farage suddenly realises what the large inflatable object in Nigel's suitcase was. After a new hospital opens in London, administrators thank the eagle-eyed member of the public who pointed out that from the roof you can see into the nurse's residence. And RMT Chief Bob Crow proves he's got what it takes in the Total Wipeout Trade Union special. Good night.
More Friday night comedy on the way as Citizen Khan finds fasting a bit of a struggle next on BBC One, and then Robert De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jennifer Saunders and Cher, all with Graham Norton at 10:35.
I'd like to say some things about Prince George's christening.